My opinion is this, and you alluded to it, was first, you should actually manually send messages to people and learn like how it works and how to actually personalize a message and how to find your leads on LinkedIn. Like they have it's their job title. You can find them using Sales Navigator. So my opinion is technology just amplifies that. So once you figure out what works manually and you don't have time to follow up, then use a tool. But I think a lot of people go wrong by going straight to automation and scale before they've gotten the offer right, the persona right, and the message right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Test, Optimize, and Scale. I have been awaiting today's discussion with Nicholas Verity, founder, CEO, Cleverly, one of the top platforms, if not the top, for LinkedIn outreach. Nick is known as a super genius in many communities and definitely a growth hacker. Been looking forward to diving in and talking about the world of outreach, the world of LinkedIn. Nick, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thanks so much, Jason.
And how did you get into this whole vertical? How did you get into this whole world of SaaS? Where did your story, where did your journey begin?
Yeah, so quick answer is my parents ran a kids bounce house business when I was young, like jumpy houses. And I think I got the entrepreneurship bug from that, just watching them come home, have freedom, work super hard. But I think just naturally that's what happened. And then I did crazy stuff in college, completely irrelated to work or to actual schoolwork. Like I launched a successful Kickstarter that blew up actually. And so just experimented with stuff like that. And then the reason I started Cleverly and my business partner did is because we had to get our own leads. When we came out of college, it was like we were SDRs, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's the hardest.
Sales development.
Yep, sales development. It's the hardest job ever. And so we found LinkedIn incredibly effective for like actually reaching buyers without finding emails and blasting and all that stuff. So that's how we got into the business, is just using LinkedIn for ourselves as SDRs. And then we're like, yo, let's make this an agency.
And want to back up just a second. What did you do on Kickstarter as a crowdfunding enthusiast, more on the equity investment crowdfunding side? What was your reward crowdfund all about?
So I had two college friends come up to me at party. This was when Harambe the gorilla had unfortunately passed away, if you remember.
Yes.
Um, and it was super viral. And so they had an idea to sell shot glasses that said, take a shot for Harambe because he took one for you. So it was like a cool play on words. And I like this is not should not be on Kickstarter, but I just launched it on Kickstarter with a funny video. And I DM'd a bunch of like Harambe pages on social media and like they posted it for free. And then the news cycle just caught it. And we did like 55 grand in sales in 21 days. The campaign goal is 3 grand. And like we sold 8,000 shot glasses. And you can like look it up, called Shots for Harambe online. It's pretty funny. But that was like my first start into like internet businesses and sales.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I remember Harambe got some votes for president. He was all over social media. So you guys had a $3,000 goal and you blew past that to 55K.
Yeah. And literally off almost no ad spend. Like
Mhm.
we just got lucky with virality. Yeah.
Yeah. You got into the algorithm. I know when campaigns surpass 100% of the goal, the
Yeah.
platform, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, then starts talking about them. So you probably got a lot of traffic just from Kickstarter itself.
Exactly. That was huge. That was huge.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So being able to identify trends online, tapping into channels where you could find more traffic, and then getting into this world of LinkedIn. What were you first doing on LinkedIn? How has it evolved since then?
So before it was kind of a spammy platform, honestly. You could send thousands of messages with these like kind of gray area tools, and using fake LinkedIn profiles was really common back then. LinkedIn's cracked down on all of that. And so the game has completely changed from numbers to quality. And a lot of our competitors died. And the cream of the crop. There's like 10 of us in the whole space that are actually doing real business on the platform and actually driving leads for real profiles. And so that's what's changed a lot. So everyone in the game still has just had to get a lot smarter with targeting, copy, personalization, and volume.
And just to break it down a little bit further, we've done webinars, we've put out content on LinkedIn Outreach, because what you do, it is genius in the sense that I would do it manually. I would take the time and send invitations to specific individuals on LinkedIn. And whether I was looking to build partnerships or looking for B2B clients, investors, you can find these individuals. It always amazes me how many people put investor in their job title on LinkedIn, or even just finding the exact person at the exact company.
Mhm.
You could send them invitations, look for a 20% or higher acceptance rate. I think 40% occurs in many of these initiatives, and then message and have messaging sequences going out to those people. Again, I would throw numbers at it of 20% or higher. So your technology you've built automates a lot of that, and not just the invitations, but the follow-up. I mean, it's all in the follow-up, and that's where everyone falls short. You see those stats on how sales occur in the 7th to 12th contact, but most sales reps never follow up past 2, 3 different messages. So just the organization and what occurs in terms of those, circle back messages, I mean, it's huge. So being able to use your tool in that capacity versus having to, do it manually, I think something that's underrated. I think it's one of the best utilities of LinkedIn, and really that virtually every professional should be using, at least if they want to grow their network, and have more relationships in their vertical or a new space.
100% right. I mean, my opinion is this, and you alluded to it, was first, you should actually manually send messages to people and learn like how it works and how to actually personalize a message and how to find your leads on LinkedIn. Like it's their job title. You can find them using Sales Navigator. So my opinion is technology just amplifies that. So once you figure out what works manually and you don't have time to follow up, then use a tool. But I think a lot of people go wrong by going straight to automation and scale before they've gotten the offer right, the persona right, and the message right.
And so early days, you're saying it's volume, almost a bit spammy. Not saying what you're doing, but the platform as a
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah.
These days, less about the numbers, more about the quality. How high were you getting in volumes back then?
So we would send 2,000 messages a month.
Okay.
um, Anywhere between 20 and 30% connect rates, maybe sometimes lower, but it didn't matter because we were piling on dozens of leads a month for a client, even with bad reply rates. And so those were those were sort of the numbers we were doing. Um, and we were just doing one follow-up at the time, like that's all it took, right? So it's just changed a lot. But now we're seeing like 30% connect rates, 30%, 40% reply rates, and still a lot of leads. Another interesting thing we learned was that like most people can't even keep up with the volume. Like
Yeah.
2,000 outreaches a month is a lot of people to conversate with, which like if I'm being honest about my platform, it's not like hot inbound leads. You're starting conversations off with people. Not everyone converts to a meeting. So part of the game is like you have to get the response handling right and all of those other things right as well.
So 2000 a month, 100 a day. I know LinkedIn has put more rules in play. I believe it's more like 25 per day at this point.
Yep, exactly.
So more of 500 per business day, 20 business days in a month, just throwing some round numbers at it. But
Yeah.
what you're saying is it's all about the quality, really refine manually before you get into automations, both
Yeah.
the targeting and the messaging. And then once you do, get a higher response rate, get the right people, and get more results as part of it. I mean, you were even talking about people who would get too many leads and fall short, just kind of let the lead fizzle away.
Yeah. I think like if we want to talk numbers, 100 new connections a month off 500 sends. And then of those, maybe 25 reply. And then of those, half of them are positive. And some of them squeeze through to meetings and maybe deals. And
Mhm.
so the more quality, like you can double that. And then also, which is important, is you want to scale to your team. So like I remember when you guys, I'm sure you've had your whole team on running outreach. Like the more profiles you have, the better. That's why it's a no-brainer for an org to run 5 people at their company, and then you're just 5xing the leads. So that's how we see volume at scale.
Absolutely. And you talked about fake profiles. I mean, you got to use real people. It's about the trust, the profile pick, mutual connections, I think are huge. Background versus a page that people know is obviously fake.
Oh, 100%. So there's a stat out there that like 40% of people click to see your profile after you send them a message because they're looking to see if they trust you or not. And so if you don't have social proof on there, if you don't have a full profile, a clean pic, it's not like weird, fluffy messaging. Like that is instrumental. That's super important.
And what verticals do you see this working for the most? I mean, we talked about how we use it for investors. I also mentioned there's some strategic partnerships and B2B. But what verticals is it real estate? Is it banking? What's most common for you guys?
Okay, so the best industries are the ones where you have the most people active on LinkedIn. Salespeople, recruiters, people trying to sell. So lenders, financiers, real estate agents, service providers, consultants. Those people are hyperactive on LinkedIn. Digital CEOs, marketing agencies, etc. So if you sell to any one of those niches, it's like a home run. Outside of that, people are shocked that people are still on LinkedIn. So the rest of B2B industries we've all found to be fairly active. Some are not. Like doctors are hard to target. We will turn a lot of those clients away. Um, Sometimes like brick and mortar retailers aren't really on LinkedIn as well. Like my dad is not on LinkedIn, for example. So it's like some of those are hard to target, but those are some of the top industries, yeah. And then there's some ninja stuff here. So like I'll share some tactics. Like one is a lot of our best clients are also using LinkedIn for partnerships. So not just selling to clients, but actually trying to like ink deals with other people that can refer them business that's a win-win scenario. It's very common in finance. Like to target other lenders and stuff like that. And then another thing is to like not just target CEOs. People come and they want to like, I think I want to target 1,000 plus employee CEOs. Like, really? Like that guy is making $200 million in sales. Like he is not like procuring your product unless you're like Workday or something. So like a lot of people are punching above their weight and we bring them down and say, "Hey, let's go after people who use your product." Then you start seeing higher response rates. Let's go after the director of product management who is
Hmm.
like direct would literally use your software. So like there's hacks like that that you can use to get more connections and replies.
Don't punch above your weight. I like that.
Yep. Yep. 100%.
I remember being at an ad network and reaching out. We'd have to look at which agency the brand was at, who was, the media buyer, media planner, associate media director, all the way up.
Mhm.
That was the agency. Then, okay, let's go client direct. And all right, marketing contacts, let's work our way up. You'd see CEO, but again, wouldn't try to punch for your weight. Uh, every now and then, let's say during the holiday season,
Yeah.
you'd actually get hold of some higher ups. But uh, I think that's such great advice because people think, yeah, just get me on the line with CEOs. I'm going to do this or whatever it is. But being able to test out a few different audiences, being able to test out different messaging over time, and seeing from the analytics, not just assumptions, what's working is
Yeah.
huge. And being able to look at the breakdowns. So, hey, message one, message two, message three, where are we getting the best responses? What do we need to tweak? Is also a very important part of the equation.
100%. That's the thing. Like, if you don't use a tool, you're kind of on LinkedIn sending stuff. You don't really know the numbers. So
Mhm.
that's why, like, a good cold email software has a dashboard. Like, we have the same thing for the exact reason. Like, what's underperforming, what's not. Yeah.
And you guys recently added additional support for responses. I think to your note earlier of some clients, some customers, some of the people doing outreach get overwhelmed and have trouble keeping up
Mhm.
with all of the new contacts, with all of the new messages, the responses. Time kills all deals. A lack of response says something in a loud way. So you guys are putting together different response matrices, and being able to speak as the professional doing the outreach.
Yep, it's exactly right. We found a lot of clients returning because time kills deals. They were too slow or they couldn't reply, or it's just not their expertise with the response matrix stuff. So they sometimes clients like someone says they're interested and they send a proposal. And it's like, no, like there's a couple steps before that. We've literally seen that. So just like those two things a response handler can help with. And yeah, we build the matrix custom with the client. It's not just like some random dude replying in the inbox. So um yeah, that's been huge.
You have the experts working on it. They see the numbers for each vertical day in, day out. They're able to, base it on tactics that work, but more customized for that individual, that company, that vertical. Love it. I get asked a lot about LinkedIn outreach versus other channels.
Mhm.
So, hey, we're trying to reach high level professionals. We're trying to reach investors. Why wouldn't we advertise on LinkedIn versus do the outreach?
Mhm.
Or LinkedIn's great for content. Why don't we just post a bunch of content there, whether it's posts,
Mhm.
articles, lives? Why do you emphasize outreach over these other channels within LinkedIn?
It's a great question, and they're all good for different types, and I'll quickly explain each one. So, a lot of our clients, and we take pride in this, are like sometimes one person company startups all the way up to 20 employees. LinkedIn outreach is the cheapest form of cold outreach you could possibly do. You don't even need Sales Navigator. It's free to send a connection request. So that's number one is that with a Sales Navigator subscription, it's $100 a month. It's free to send messages. So if you're small, trying to get your first couple clients or several or dozens, that's why LinkedIn outreach just makes sense. You don't even need Apollo. You don't need to warm up emails. So it's less technical than email, for example. Um, LinkedIn
Absolutely.
ads work great with big budgets because there are real B2B buyers on the platform. We found retargeting audiences are the best actually for LinkedIn ads because they're a bit warmer because clicks can be like $10 to $30 a click. Like it's not the cheapest platform. That's why like only a certain client type works for LinkedIn ads. But we run $6,000 a month in ads for ourselves on LinkedIn. So like it works. Specifically with retargeting, like retargeting all our web traffic. So you need more than like 5,000 hits a month to your website too. You cannot have like a couple hundred to your site and run LinkedIn ads. And then content, if I'm being honest, it takes a while to get there. Like if you don't have 5,000 connections, 10,000 connections, no one's reading your stuff. Like it, however, once you get there, it's like a tipping point of like inbound. Like if you really write a lot of great content for long enough, I get 30 inbound leads a month from my profile, like just off content and people clicking links in my profile. So like it took me a long time to get there. I had to go viral a couple times. Like it was really hard. That's why it's like if you need leads quickly, content is not the answer. But if you want to dedicate yourself to it, it can be incredibly huge asset because LinkedIn connections are with you forever. They're your connection forever for however long you post. So that's the benefit also of LinkedIn.
Such great points. I like to look at content as nurturing. So
Yeah.
maybe uh, your audience is seeing it, or maybe someone's researching you. Everyone researches on LinkedIn as a generalization, right? So they get to your page, they like the picture mutual connections background. They say I want to go a layer deeper. They get to your activity and they see, oh wow, this is a thought leader right here. They're putting out
Yeah.
content regularly. It's authoritative. It's got numbers. It's not fluff. Checks all the boxes. I'm reaching out to them. But to think of it as a lead generation tool, um, could leave you with unsatisfactory results unless, like you said, you have a large audience and you're going at it for a long time. Like you said, you had to go viral, and now it's producing a good amount of leads for you. But it really took a long path to get there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on nurturing. Like it's huge for that.
Mhm.
Um, and like the other day, I literally I saw a guy's LinkedIn post and I clicked to his profile and he had social proof saying that he's taken B2B agencies from uh 5 mil to like 30 mil. And that was a ton of proof on his profile. And I have a call with him later today. So it's like obviously his LinkedIn post combined with a credible LinkedIn profile with a specific niche and like real numbers and results converted me to book a call with him. And so like it obviously works. Yeah, that's just literally I have a call with this guy later today.
Maybe we'll put in the comments how that call went. But no, that's awesome, and it's a big reason why I think a lot of people use LinkedIn. The ads, just to go back to that, it's a good way to present of, hey, you need a large budget for LinkedIn ads to really work. And with any digital advertising, the performance is really in the retargeting because it's multiple touch points.
Yeah.
It's not like they're gonna, be looking for a specific professional on LinkedIn. They come across their news feed, they see an ad, they put in their payment information or whatever it is on that first visit. So if you're already targeting mid-funnel, people have already been to your offering, can absolutely see performance. I think it's tough for lighter budget, entry level advertisers to go first to LinkedIn because, like you said, it could be an expensive cost per click. Where if
Mhm.
you're only spending a few $1,000s a month, it's very thin data.
Yeah.
You're going to be getting barely any traffic. You could get 10 times the amount of traffic on other platforms and still have some job title targeting or upload lists for custom audiences, things like that. And that's why I'm such a big fan of the LinkedIn outreach. What about LinkedIn groups? What about messaging to your existing audience? Are there
Mhm.
any tactics that you've seen to be productive there?
Yeah, 100%. Number one, you can target LinkedIn groups. So if you go to Sales Navigator, there's a filter for group. So join the group, and then we see like 40% connection rates when we mention, hey, we're both in runners of Santa Monica, like let's connect or whatever. So um that I love that hack. As long as you're smart about it and not like overly salesy, right? And then was the other thing you mentioned?
Messaging your current contacts. So not just posting to your feed, but messaging them individually. Have you seen that to work, not work, annoy
Yeah.
people?
A lot of people just do it wrong. Like I get like I'm on my 10th message from someone and they send paragraphs about events they're having. Like, um, listen, so here's like the hack on LinkedIn, right? It's a social selling platform. You have to think of it like you're texting someone one to one. And so you literally have to write like you talk and say,
Yep.
hey, I just did this with my event. I said, hey, saw you're in Santa Monica. I'm hosting an event on Thursday. Would be cool to see you there. I would actually text that to a friend. And that's why like I've have 4 people in my inbox right now that are coming to my event on Thursday because I segmented my connections to people who live close by. And then I didn't send them a 3 paragraph message on why they should come to my event. So you got to be conversational, and then you got to niche within your connections. So that's my tip there.
Absolutely. I have to go through so many emails on top of LinkedIn messages. And if it feels like it wasn't written for me, it's very easy just to, all right, I'm moving on to the next one here.
Yeah, yeah, bingo.
You guys are incorporating email. Do you recommend email on top of the LinkedIn outreach to the same prospects?
Yeah, so we don't stack them. There are some providers that do that have seen results. We just think they're totally different ball games to run separately. Like domain warming, and with email, you need a high volume of emails just to get enough qualified emails and then enough opens, then enough replies. So it's a bigger volume game. I absolutely recommend it. I think a lot of people do cold email wrong, but cold email right works just like any channel. So we do offer cold email. I think we have almost 100 clients on our cold email service. But even that, like we turn people down for it all the time. It's not the same people that we recommend do LinkedIn. Like you have to have, it's actually all about the offer. So if you don't have like a good, short, strong offer, like it's hard to make it work on cold email. So like offering free case studies that are super relevant to the niche, free samples if you're selling a physical product, those things crush it. Um, Stuff like that. But people want to come in and be like free demo. Like, no, that's a sales call, right? So you have to have some good offers, and cold email absolutely works.
Any other hacks that you like to point out, growth hacks towards LinkedIn? Anything with list exports or uploads or any of the other newer LinkedIn tools that can be used that could be fun for the audience to play around with?
Yeah. Have you ever tested Phantom Buster, Jason, at
I
all?
haven't.
Yeah. If you go to Phantom Buster site, they have like 40 different automations you can steal, and there's like um, get all everyone who likes some LinkedIn post and like pull them into a list, right? So you find a competitor's LinkedIn post and like contact them, or people who are attending an event. Like they got some crazy growth hacks there that are cool that we don't do because like they're one-offs and hard to scale, but I think that's super cool. On a micro scale, this is something I'm gonna test soon, but actually we've already done, but tagging other people in your LinkedIn posts is a great tactic. And taking it a step further, I've seen some big LinkedIn events recently, like people who host a LinkedIn event with five other influencers who have huge audiences. And then you just pool your audiences together and get thousands of people to attend a LinkedIn like a webinar event. I'm gonna test that really soon. I'm convinced it might be a new growth hack, but these things are changing. It's actually much harder to go viral on LinkedIn than it used to be. Like LinkedIn used to eat up like people stories and HR stories and my dog this and that kind of stuff. There's less of that now. But anyways, those are some cool LinkedIn hacks that we're playing around with.
Well, I like how you're pointing out fundamentals. Hit the right audience. Really be clever on how you do it.
Yeah.
So the events, the posts that they liked, finding the right job title for your vertical and doing more of that. When I've done it manually, I remember some early sessions where I put together a list of partnerships that
Mm,
forwarded us deals for years thereafter. And in one session, I've had other sit downs and work I've put in that was not as productive.
yeah.
But when you find that winning scenario, really leaning into it, you mentioned the offer. I mean, you could get as many eyeballs on a bad offer that you want, and it's just not going to move the needle. And can't blame the tool, can't blame the platform or anything like that. Like, hey, LinkedIn doesn't work. It's really finding the right messaging. But once you're able to dial that in, I mean, I always look for things that work offline, but the
Mm,
bite-sized version of it, like those
yeah.
words that get people on the edge of their seat, and being able to put that into an appropriate format for digital, so to have it in the LinkedIn messaging. But what you're talking about is good fundamentals, not just expecting a hack to deliver results overnight if it's missing it.
Yeah. 100% spot on.
So what would you recommend for founders? A lot of our audience are they're founders. We also have marketers and some VC industry professionals. What would you recommend for them to test out towards their own model? This could be towards, overall business management. I mean, you guys have over 1,000 clients, a very successful platform. This could be towards marketing, could be LinkedIn specific here. I know you've already talked about a lot of tests for LinkedIn, so I don't want to sound repetitive, but what tests would you recommend for founders listening in?
Yeah, I want to talk about like early stage ones that maybe don't have product market fit yet.
Okay.
Um, Number one, you can target investors on LinkedIn. It's a great strategy. Like angels and seed investors and everything up the chain. Um, so that's a great strategy. Another thing is that like I've helped early stage startups get meetings by um being honest in the pitch. For example, saying like, "Hey, I'm looking for feedback from product professionals. I think I built a product that can allow you to ship um, features 50% faster. And like just like getting your first couple meetings like that actually can result in business. So really crisp, short messaging and then like a really soft call to action can work really well for companies that haven't figured it out yet. And so I really like that strategy. Another opinion I have is like play in the industry that you have expertise in. So, um, um, some of our best clients, I don't care if they're selling something new, but if you used to work at Visa, like go and target fintech companies, go and target banking companies. They're much more likely to take a meeting with you because you have domain expertise and you know the words your prospects use. Um, I always recommend starting there. I think people come and they're like, I want to sell to trucking companies, and they spent their whole career in apparel. And it's like, that's really hard to start with. So, those are some games I recommend playing.
Lead with honesty, be humble about it. I know I respond to messages like that
Mm-hmm.
for feedback or something along those lines, and then they can pitch me whatever they want once they're on the call. But I'm receptive because of the request, and then the domain expertise. I do that with sales reps where if they have a background in automotive, like okay, let's get you going after some automotive companies. You're gonna be able to
Oh
talk
yeah,
shop with them, use language that is vertical specific that, I'm a car enthusiast, but I haven't worked in the industry. Maybe I wouldn't, be even touching. So, yeah, I think those are great recommendations.
100%. We call it insider lingo here, and it's like it can completely change the performance of a campaign, like using a word that only people in that vertical use.
What about when it's not working? Speaking to performance. And I believe this happens on every campaign, whether it's out of the gate,
Yeah.
6 months in, 12 months in, there's a plateau, what have you. What are the best approaches towards optimization? They've got the audience, the messaging, the call to action, but it's just not producing the results that they need. Enough time has gone by, there's conclusive enough data. What are the best models to optimize?
Yeah, this is something we do underperformer reviews every week. Like it happens to us all the time. So it's always the same themes though, and I'll just riff off a couple. Um they thought they niched down, but not really. So you went after logistics and supply chain, but go a layer deeper. Go after logistics people in your city. So add like extra niche layers. That's one thing because you're too broad. Um, Another thing is you're coming off too salesy. So read the message like you would if you're a prospect. Is it conversational? Are you using words like we when you should be using words like I? Things like that. Length and brevity. Brevity is something I say every week to our writers is like, why are you using fluffy words? Like, why delete that word, delete that word. It's too long of messages don't get read. Um, Testing offers. We already went over that. 100% important. Are you being relentless enough? Are you actually following up to your point? Are you sending 3 follow-ups? Um, you'll be surprised. Are you nurturing them? Maybe they convert in a year, right? So like those are important things. Um, and then is the LinkedIn profile good if we're talking LinkedIn? Like if, for example, if you send a message and your title, your headline says like sales rep or account executive at company, they know they're getting pitched. So like, tweak that, improve it. Is there social proof in your message? We always find social proof is buried. Like, oh, you Nike is a client. Like, say that higher. Don't bury that stuff. That's the gold. Yeah.
People don't believe what they see online. Third party validation showcased early on really goes a long way. And yeah, position yourself as the product. So the page, your title, everything that's associated in there. I like the niche down. Proximity is power, being able to have zip code targeting is huge. Whether somebody wants to meet with you in person or not, just knowing that they could generally provides for an extra layer of trust. And yes, brevity, not too salesy. Don't put any words in there that don't need to be.
Yep, exactly. Bingo.
How large can this stuff go? Any tips, any examples towards scale, perhaps from some of your largest campaigns?
Yeah, we have a lot of companies that have sales teams that are running like anywhere between 3 and 6 accounts with us. Those guys, I'll give like two examples. So, Lease Lock, great strategy. They were going after, they would buy event lists of people going to like huge real estate events, and we would just blast all of them. And they would set up 30 or 40 meetings before the events happen. So that's like a great event strategy. Um, Another company, Bambi HR SaaS, like we had, I think, 10 profiles running for them, just targeting small businesses. Um, they were crushing it by just being like soft and non-salesy. And they have a really strong one-liner. They're like, you, you get an HR manager for $99 a month. So we just blasted that offer everywhere. And just by having 10 profiles, they were seeing like 80 leads a month. And so that crushed it for a long time until they brought it in house, but they're still doing it, you know? And so, um, as soon as you find something that works with one profile, the game is to scale it to multiple profiles.
As I mentioned earlier, and want to reemphasize, particularly for all the verticals that you mentioned and all the roles, every one of those professionals can be reaching out to 25 people per day, connecting with, let's say, five or more, as a goal, perhaps having a conversation, if not a meeting booked with one new one every day. So if that's just showing up in your LinkedIn box, on your scheduler, whatever it may be, it's such an impactful tool, and again, can for the most part find anyone you're looking for.
100%. You have to. And that, sorry, I'm doubling back, but this is also
Sure.
important. People think they're offering value, but they're not. Like sending a blog post to someone, if it's not the best blog post they've ever read, like is a total waste of time. So like your offer's got to be super, it's got to be irresistible is like the word. So that's another huge thing is like think like what's a good lead magnet? I don't know if you guys run lead magnets for clients and stuff, maybe in certain campaigns, but like that's part of the funnel for cold. If you're going after cold, like that's part of the game. Yeah.
Because it's a longer sales cycle, you're not
Yeah.
going to get sign off on that proposal. You gave that example earlier of someone who said, "Hey, thanks for connecting. Here's a proposal." Use the analogy of like, "Hey, can I take you on a date? Great. Would you like to get married?" You're like, "Oh, oh, what are you doing here?" So having a planned funnel in between, and having for investors a pitch deck, an investor group pitch, a town hall, being able to have a checklist. For us, we have the podcast, webinar, articles. Here's recaps of conferences we just spoke at, but offering value all the way through. And what a great point. Make it irresistible. Don't put out, let alone promote content that's subpar. Make sure it's something that you're not only proud of, but is going to be of utility, of value to the other side.
Yeah, 100%. It's part of the reason why you do this podcast. I'm sure you don't
Yep.
interview anyone. Like they got to have they got to deliver some value. Therefore they have to have had success.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's what we look to do is package those insights in an actionable format. So being able to talk to founders who have significant growth, like yourself, who've had exits, founders who have um, showcased, who are able to point at very successful capital raises and talk about all the moving mechanisms that got them there.
Mm.
Exactly. We want it to be, flooded with ideas for listeners and viewers.
Yeah. Yeah. And like how many times have you gotten on a stage, taught something, and then you got a client from it? Like it happens all the time.
Yeah, I I used to put projections down on paper before I went on stage. So, okay, there's 600 people in the audience. I want to make sure I speak to, 30, at least 6, somewhere in between afterwards. And then you position for it. So you're kind of hanging out, talking to the
Mhm.
people in line, or, going to be outside to answer more questions or whatever it may be. And then putting projections for, proposals and deals, or more importantly for me at conferences, partnerships, how that is evolving. I find putting an algorithm behind it makes you more intentional. But yeah, we've brought in, some of our top clients to date through those activations.
I like that you go with algorithm. Like you're talking about like the frameworks you share and all of that, like the
Yeah.
numbers and everything. Yeah, I think it's important to show like artifacts, proof, all of that. That's a good point.
Yeah. The only way to measure is with numbers. So if I send a sales rep to a conference and say, have fun, they
Yeah.
may come back to me with words such as good. The conference was, going off, when I don't know what to do with that info. If I say, hey, you need to bring 25 to 50, cards,
Hmm.
LinkedIn profiles, whatever it is, back people you've spoken to, I know, all right, there's enough people that we should be able to project X amount of meetings and, get X amount of deals off of. If it doesn't work, okay, we're going to shift our focus, but I want to make sure there's enough opportunities, enough ammunition.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
I've seen that with LinkedIn too, where, hey, I reached out to 4 people and I didn't hear back. It's like, well, it's not exactly how it
Yeah.
works, and you need to stay at it.
Yeah. 100%. I listen real quick. I listened to Hermosi story where he's like, he passed out like 200 flyers for his gym opening. And
Yeah.
his mentor was like, court, like I pass out 5,000 flyers. And he's like, so sometimes it's just like, dude, are you relentless enough? Like, what's that volume look like? Yeah.
And if they don't want to pass out 5,000 flyers, why? What's in the background? Are you
Sure.
afraid? You don't think your offer's strong enough? You don't think the audience cares? There's probably something there. There's probably something you want to tweak. I like that
Yeah.
conversation with follow-ups too. Of yeah, I followed up with everybody. I didn't hear anything back. It's like, all right, you followed up once.
Hmm.
You're trying to look cool in front of these people that aren't responding to you. You don't think your message is good. Okay, let's tweak that a bit. Like, what's something that sounds more authentic to
Mm,
you in the repeat messaging? But they're not going to be of value to you just sitting there. Like, find a way that makes sense to
yeah.
get back in touch with them.
Great point. Fantastic point.
Yeah. Well, Nick, I really appreciate you taking the time to hop onto the podcast here, educate viewers, listeners on what you do. You are one of the top people in the world at this, and the software, the technology you've built has produced tremendous value. We've worked with you for years, highly recommend the platform. And beyond that, these are tactics that, whether it's done manually, whether it's done by cleverly, by any platform, a software that's been built, we've tried everything. They should absolutely be considered, if not integrated directly into a marketing campaign. Where can users go? Where can the audience go to learn more? And what are some final thoughts you want to leave them with today?
Yeah. On my website, under blog, the first blog is something I wrote, and it's the A to Z guide to LinkedIn. It is like all my growth strategies. So I recommend going to cleverly.co and consuming that piece of content. Um, Other than that, I'd say get started, send 20 connection requests to someone, personalize it, make it non-salesy, and you will be surprised that the fact that you get people to accept, and some people to reply. So that would be my advice.
Definitely recommend you take Nicholas up on that advice, and go to Cleverly and learn more. Hope you're taking notes. I know I did, and going to be sharing with my team some great different concepts here. And Nick, want to thank you again for taking the time to come on the podcast.
Always, Jason, it was fun.
Awesome, awesome, and appreciate everybody tuning in. We will see you next time. Take care.